but it should be going, so we should be all set and we're good to go. Okay, do we want to start with the readings again, and then we can go to Jigsaw's and then the other thing in my
The
brain that I can't think?
99 and the
Yes.
article. Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
perfect. Don't worry
Okay.
about it. Okay. The bluey duck cake.
Yeah.
I thought this is like such a cute episode though.
I
Like
think
because it's like Bingo has a birthday, so they get a like it's like I want a duck cake and it's like this hard cake. But
yeah.
like the dad's trying to make it Bingo or like at practice. I don't even know where they're at. Um, but it was like how like he's trying to get like Bluey to like clean up and like help out and like do all that. And then how like when his like hard earned like duck cake like falls and like he's just so deflated and the dad just is like, oh, but then like Bluey cleans it up without being asked. Like that just was like so tender to me. I don't know why. But it's just like so sweet when somebody does something like serves you like that and you like don't ask them to. Like it just like turns my little heart into a puddle. I just oh
Yeah, it's like the acts of service. It's the idea of like you're thinking outside of yourself. And it's just like, oh
yeah.
yeah, this is easy. Like I can do this easily. Let me just go ahead and help you out right here. And it's
Hmm.
so fun. Because like that's something my mom always wanted us to do. Like anytime. And I feel like it might just be a mom thing, but they were like, or parent thing where they're like, hey, help out a little bit. Like it's your brother's birthday. It's like give some assistance. And like just that sort of thing. And then you're just like, no. And then at the end you're like, yeah, sure, why not? It's like
Yeah.
so fun. Freaking love Bluey. Like I might just watch the whole show by myself just for kicks and giggles.
I know, like I could totally go for Bluey, right? We should turn off the Zoom and go watch Bluey.
It was
I'd
just us
be I'd
binging.
be down. Binge season one? Yeah, for reals. What are you
Yeah.
watching? A cartoon about an Australian dog. It's really good. Really good.
I mean,
High quality
high
television.
quality. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just start crying in some of the episodes. We're like, it's fine.
It's fine. No, I love it. Okay.
Like, what's wrong? Bluey just ate a thing. Anyways.
Larry's just such a good kid.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The over justification, I think is the next one.
hmm I'm gonna pull up the readings while we do this as well, just to make sure that I have everything
Okay.
pulled
And
up.
I like label mine. I feel like sometimes everybody labels them different.
hmm
So
It's
I'm just
true.
like going in order. So if it's like
No,
the
you're
name of the
good.
actual video, it's probably not because they go off the name of like the one that he like links
Yeah.
or is in the name of the how it is in the reading.
And the
Hmm.
announcement thing.
Yeah. But that
Yes.
one was talking about like rewards and
hmm
like how people want to like accomplish goals and like receive awards, rewards.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel that in my life. Like I set goals and reward myself for accomplishing those goals. And
That's the
so,
old. Sorry. Sorry. Go
yeah,
on.
yeah, I do that. And I don't know, I guess like one thing that I'm looking at like my notes like kind of stands out to me is like a goal set for yourself by yourself is more powerful than one's other set for you. And I like that because I feel like when we set a goal for ourselves, like it's not only, it can be like extrinsically motivated, but it can also be like intrinsically motivated. Like it's very personal and real to you. And you understand the depth, the facets, what you were thinking of. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just more personal and intimate when it is set by you.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah, I like that one.
Mhm. I think that's a really good point that like I think you can be encouraged and influenced by others with goals. But like
Hmm.
you said, Savannah, when you set them, you understand the why behind the goals. You understand what makes you want to get up in the morning and do that goal. But if you, and then you can add someone to help you reach that goal in any way that you need. So like what I keep thinking of is like my mom when she wants to like lose weight, and so she'll go to the gym. And so at one point she ended up getting like a trainer, and then she had friends come with her. So she had people outside of herself that were aware of her goal, that were helping her meet that goal, but she had to set it. Like she had
Mhm.
to say, this is why I'm getting this goal. And then everyone else was just an assistance to that, because then they could help her kind of reach the why, but also reach the goal. And it wasn't like her friends weren't setting her goal of, hey, let's go to the gym. It was, hey, like your goal is to go to the gym. I'd like to go to the gym as well. Do you want to go together? Like that sort of thing, which I think is a lot more helpful. I think, yeah, like you said, it's very important to set the goal by yourself, and then to have I think adding to it, having others encourage that goal so that you can't justify it
Um,
to go away.
yeah, no, I completely get that. I completely get that. Um, I guess we can go on to like, unless like anybody else has any other comments, go on to like the one about like the one tweet that ruined your life.
Yes, let's do it.
Remember that one, I was like, this is just like crazy. How
Hmm.
like that girl like wrote, okay, it was kind of like, you know, an out there tweet like, hey, like I'm going to Africa, hope I don't get like I don't even know what it said, AIDS or something. Oh wait, I don't even know. I can't even remember. But just had like that time she was on the plane and couldn't respond. Like it just like blew up in her face. Like it just crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Sorry, I'm writing stuff down.
You're all good. Um,
And just how it's like, I don't know. Like I feel like I talked a little bit about this, how it's like people used to like share like their deepest, darkest secrets on Twitter and just like totally expose themselves. And somebody would be like, I do that too. And you could find like a group, and now it's like somebody says something on there and they're just like shamed and demoralized and just like they just like strip people's dignity away and just say like such like harmful, like terrible things. And it's like I don't know, like there was some like other tweets on there that were like so nasty. And it was just I like how the guy who's talking talked about how it's like it's not okay for someone to say something like this, but if you're responding to someone or
Hmm.
commenting, then we all of a sudden think it's okay
Yeah.
to call someone like a terrible B word and that they need to like, yeah, go to hell or whatever. Or yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's really
I
interesting.
don't
I
know.
feel like we use like the screen in technology a lot of the times to say whatever we want to say, and then we forget that other people can do the same exact thing about your thought process.
mhm.
So like, yeah, let me like send this tweet because it's just like gonna be a fun little thing, and then everyone else is gonna take that the way that they want to take it, and then it's out of your hands. Like the words are no longer going to be taken the way that you thought it was going to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Alyssa, did you have a thought?
Yes. It kind of like goes off of what you said, Haley, where it's like I think sometimes we also just forget that there's other people behind the screen. Um, because and like you said, we often use social media to just kind of like say whatever we want. Like I like people use it to like say whatever they want. And so when they do that and then they get the backlash, or someone else is like, hey, I don't like that, and then it goes viral. It either goes one of two ways. It either goes really good in that person's favor, or it goes really bad. And so oftentimes I think um we just kind of forget that there's other people who have feelings, and like like Savannah said, like we used to be able to post stuff and just kind of like vent, and now you can't do that because people are so um I had someone like tell me they're like people are so sensitive nowadays that you can't really say whatever you want anymore. And you have to be really careful on how you word things because people could take it any other direction and it kind of just ruins that person's life, even if it wasn't intended to be that way or viewed that way.
Hmm.
And so it's just kind of crazy to see like she could say something really sarcastic and not even mean it, and people take it completely like the wrong way. And they're like, oh, you're a horrible person. And so it was kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. I think like also it reminds me there's another video that I saw and this the other one that I saw was just a lot more of a joke and she just decided she was gonna post on Twitter and she was like, I wrote Emily in Paris and it was a joke and like this is what it was supposed to be. And then like everyone took that as fact and was like, oh my goodness, we found the person who originally wrote this show, like, oh my goodness, all these things. And then um like it got to the point where she got in like news articles and so I think oftentimes too people will take it as fact like that is who you are, that is like what you're saying, Eliza, you are either a horrible person and that's it, or there's nothing else left. And it's so interesting and like even in a classroom in that perspective kids are going to take what you say as fact and like as something of who you are. So if you're in the classroom and you say something, that one thing that might be like not the greatest, kids are going to take that and be like, oh my goodness, guess what my teacher said, XYZ, this drama, and like that whole thing, even though that's something you might not even be or might not even act like, that's not who you are, but it's that impression that I think oftentimes we can get, and social media is very good at only giving first impressions, and that's it. Which also reminds me, sorry, five different thoughts. My psychology class last semester, he talked about how it's really easy to make a bad impression and really hard to change that. And then vice versa, it's really hard to make a good impression and really easy to change that to a bad impression. So like it's
Yeah,
harder to do
yeah.
to be good. Yeah, just like that whole thing. Anyways, that's my thoughts.
Sorry, I'm just writing that down.
Oh, you're good. I'm gonna write that down too, so that
I
I
like that.
remember it.
I like that a lot. Um, no, and I feel that, and I don't know, I think society's so crazy how like it's so easy. Like anytime anything's like posted or published online, like people are making impressions of you constantly and
Hmm.
like judging that. And so, yeah, crazy, crazy. I
Yeah.
guess we can like move on to the next one.
Hey, I totally had just another really random thought
Oh
because I
no.
was like thinking about last week's readings recently, and like the climate, the not climate, oh my gosh, the culture like um diagram thing where it's like the surface level and then the deeper level of the culture.
Mm,
Um, we also, I think oftentimes we can forget that culture affects the way that we view things on social media, especially. Like if someone's gonna say something and they're like, "Oh, this is just like a harmless, like fun thing," and then people can see that and be like, "Oh my goodness, you are a horrible person because of this culture or something or whatever it is." And I think culture can become a catalyst oftentimes in how we see someone, if we see them as a good person or a bad person. But anyways, that's my last thought. And then yes, we can move on to the next one.
no, I like that because I feel like that even goes into like the next one. It's like the suicide one.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And how it's like suicide rates go up when a country becomes industrialized. And it gave like the five things that happen, and it's like individualism. Like it's I think it's because of that like culture shift. Like you go from where
Yeah,
everybody is so like reliant on like other people towards like everything becomes so much more individualized. Um, excessive hopes, or we have too much freedom, atheism, and weakening of nations and families. And that like those are like what can contribute to like increased suicide rates.
Hmm.
It's like excessive hopes, like we're expected to live up to so much more than like can feel possible.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, there's just so much out there in the world, which I don't know, goes into like shifts in culture. I feel like can really positively impact that group of people or negatively
Hmm.
impact those groups of people.
And then as a society and as a because in my brain I'm also like we're one big giant group of humanity. We need to be able to help and support each other instead of deciding that we're going to become individual factions and individual groups that are going to harm the other. Especially when we're changing and the world is adjusting and the world is constantly in this flow, um, this roller coaster of change. And so if we're not going to adjust to that as a group and as humanity, like the reading says, and like you said, Savannah, it's then going to cause more harm than it will give support. And we have to do that as a group, as as a as society, as humanity to help each other. We need to be like Jesus. Just love everyone.
Just be Christ-like.
Just like Jesus.
Just yeah. No, I think that yeah is huge. It is huge.
Hmm.
Just because it's like where we're at, who we're with, the culture we're a part of, just like impacts our mental health so much and like how we see ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
100%. Eliza, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's crazy. I think in my notes I wrote my notes are falling. I'm using my dog to hold up my computer. Um, but but in my notes I think I wrote that people rely on that social connection. And so when the social connection kind of drifts away and not necessarily disappears for good, but like just starts to vanish, it kind of sends you into that state of
I need to take a Sudafed.
like that panic almost where you don't really know like what to do about it because you're so used to having those people in that like social environment. And then when it's suddenly gone, you're like you just feel like isolated from everybody because you don't really um have the same people that you used to be able to rely on.
Mhm.
And so it's definitely very different. I definitely experienced that on my mission with my first companionship. Like I felt very isolated from our little trio, which definitely made it harder to feel um the love that I thought I would feel. And so it definitely took time to adjust. And so I think once you start and so from that experience, once you feel the isolation, you start to isolate yourself more almost. Because
Hmm.
oh, I don't these people don't want me, so why would anybody else want me? And so you start to and then eventually somebody tries to get you or somebody introduces you into a new crowd and you find that company again. And then sometimes you socialize too much and that becomes over, do it again. But then those people won't let you. And so it's just like this weird cycle of you either feel really isolated or you feel too much socialization. And so it's just like this weird cycle of I'm alone and I'm trying to accept that or I'm socialized out. I don't want to socialize anymore, but these people won't leave me alone. And so I don't know, it's just this like not cycle, but it could be depending on the person of oh, as like the introvert versus extrovert almost like um concept of oh, I like being alone versus I don't like being alone. Or you have the people in the happy medium, which is very rarely me. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the article or video, whatever it was.
I think it's also like you can't decide for a person what's better for them. You can't decide that a person is going to be better to be excluded or to be better to be included. Like also like that sounds weird, but um because I was also in a trio on my mission and I feel like trios are like one of the hardest things on a mission because you have three and you're trying to figure out how to get everyone to be involved. But there's always like someone who's really good with another person. And so it's that difficult little situation. But you can't, as humanity and as a group, we can't just decide, hey, this person is an introvert, so I'm not gonna even try. Like I'm not even gonna invite them because they've even shared with me that they're an introvert. Um, but it's the idea of like, hey, I'm gonna reach out to this person, I'm gonna help them socialize and be a part. If they decide that, hey, they don't want to socialize with me, then that's fine. And then we can have like, at least they know that I care about them. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it needs to not be decided. It needs to be decided by the individual. Um, but the invitation always needs to be extended.
I like that.
But yeah, okay. Any other thoughts of I honestly kind of forgot what we were talking about. Hold on.
Mhm.
Let me pull up my readings again. That one was the I can't say that word, but the one on suicide. That whole thing. And then there's the shame versus guilt. Okay, this is a really random thought, but I saw this. First off, anyone else have any want to talk about the other one before we move on? Okay, cool. Anyways, shame versus guilt. I saw a thing, so this is kind of a side note. Um, I want to say it was like right after COVID came out. I went to my parents' like Sunday school, and we were talking about this in church. But it's like shame comes from Satan, guilt comes from God. Like this shame and like hiding something, that's more of a Satan tactic sort of thing, and then guilt is a godly like attribute, a godly thing, because of just like you're not hiding it, but you recognize something was wrong. Anyways, that was a really random thought, but like I saw that when I first read it, and I was like, I have an idea. So,
No, I
anyways,
feel like that was like right on the money, Haley.
Mhm.
thank you,
Like
thank you.
not random at all. Like you are like, oh, cause no, I like that. Cause I was like, oh, showing guilt. Wait, show. Oh,
Shelving guilt.
yeah, there we go. Combine the two. Like it's just like so cool to where the two like stem from. And it's like the
Mhm.
one like shame is like so like powerfully negative and like guilt has can have negative effects, but like can be used to help us become better.
Hmm.
And like you were saying, like sometimes I feel like I mean like God is perfect, but he
Amen.
wants us to become and he wants us to grow and sometimes we do like feel guilt for certain things, but it's like a guilt that motivates us. Or like, a thought that motivates us rather than shame where it like degrades. And so, I don't know. I really like that. I like how it was like it gave like 3 points and it was like this is how you can kind of like differentiate. And it was like or like wait, maybe it was how to like identify like guilt or like shame or either I don't really know the context. I kind of forgot that. But it's like learn to identify it. And then two was face it, shame dies in the sunlight. And I like that because it's like, oh, if I'm like, if someone's feeling like super shameful about something, like bringing it to fruition and like identifying it, like can kill that shame and realizing like, oh, you're not a terrible person. It was just a dumb mistake. And then three is like check yourself for responsibility.
Yes.
So I don't
I
know.
love you number three. Just like I don't know why, but like the way that you said that, my brain just like thought of like a video, and it's just like check yourself, like just make sure you're doing okay. Like check who
Just
you
make sure
are.
you're doing okay.
If you're screwing up, screw up correctly next time. Try again. Fun things. Eliza, do you have any thoughts? So I'm just gonna keep
Um,
picking on you.
it's okay. I'm quiet. Um, no, I like that. I kind of broke it down into like a little chart almost, or at least that's how I had some. at least that's how I don't know my brain is able to do it, but it's like almost like shame attacks your identity and it leads to you hiding from people, which kind of goes back to the last article of like isolating yourself. And you're like, I'm bad, and then you're often like just like you're often like self-destructive about yourself or about others because you've hid yourself so you see everyone else as bad or you see yourself as bad. And then guilt focuses on like the behavior, like what did I do? Which leads to that like repairing and often lets you rebuild those relationships. And so um, it there was like a bullet point that I had that says healthy moral development focuses on guilt instead of shame because the guilt leads you to be able to have that desire to apologize to have that leads to apologies and helps repair that behavior that you or someone else had. And then the shame is like you get defensive, you're angry all the time, you're withdrawn, and you have you have depression. Not necessarily what causes depression, but like it leads to depression because
Mhm.
you've isolated yourself and you've attacked who you are as a person because you just feel this shame rather than guilt. And I feel like it's easy to get the two confused all the time because it's like, oh, I feel guilty when it could be shame, or oh, I think I'm feeling shame, but it's in reality it's guilt. And so this article is really helpful because it kind of like Samantha said, it kind of gives you like the idea of how to like see which is which, and which I found really nice.
Mhm. Yeah, because we often need I think we need a reminder that shame is not shame that we need that reminder that they're two separate things. Um, long story short, 'cause- and we can in some way we can over justify the shame and be like, oh no, like I need to feel the shame and I need to feel shameful because of XYZ and justify those emotions. But we don't need to justify those emotions and we can recognize the difference. And I do think it's important that you have to identify it to be able to move forward. Because if you're not going to identify it, then you're not going to move forward very easily. Takes a lot more effort to move forward if you decide to live in the shadows.
No, I like that. And I don't know, going into like the next one a little bit because I feel like it also talks about like the difference between like guilt and shame.
Hmm.
Um, and kind of like touches on a lot of points I've already discussed already, which is kind of cool. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like it gave like there was like these two, they were probably like psychologists. And it gave like their both of their like definitions of like guilt and shame. And the one was like guilt is I did something bad, shame is I am bad. And it's like guilt is I'm sorry I made a mistake, and shame is I'm sorry I am the mistake. And I feel like those are just like super powerful, like kind of ways to look at it, and that we need to understand. Like I feel like knowing this would just like help so many people. Like that guilt and shame is like different, and I feel like that's something that's not necessarily like talked a lot or made known. But then the other dude's like take on it was guilt is when you feel bad for having done something wrong, and shame is when you feel bad for someone spotting you doing something wrong. And I was
Oh.
like, oh. And so I was like, huh, huh. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. That's really cool, Savannah.
I was like, hey, it was Brian Chaplin.
I don't know who that man is, but I
It
like him
wasn't
already.
me. Yeah,
That's cool.
but
Yeah, shame is really self-centered. Now that like thinking about it and talking about
yes,
it, it really
that's
is
a good
just
way to
like,
put it.
yeah, like guilt is an outwardly and then shame is an inwardly situation. Oh my gosh, wedding dresses. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sorry, my like thing was like, hey, guess what you did a year ago? Anyways. Um, that's awesome. Okay. Cool. Well, we could move on to like the next one moving forward. Um, so honestly, the next one, hold on. So we can jump to 10.2, the readings, or we can talk about the jigsaws in 10.1. Either way works. We could also just like jigsaw it up and then 10.2 readings if that like comes to mind, we can talk
Oh,
about
I
that.
think I just shared my Jigsaw one.
You did. What the freak, Savannah?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what that is. I was like, oh crap.
No,
Whoops.
no, you're totally
No,
okay.
no,
A
it's
lot
funny
of
because I was
times
like,
I
I didn't
find
read
it.
that.
Yeah, I was,
Savannah.
whoops. A lot of times like I'll put Jigsaw above it, but I didn't. And then I was like, wait, that's my last reading. And then I'm like, oh. Yeah, that was my Jigsaw. So the shame and the guilt,
That's so
Ryan
cool.
Chaplin. Yeah, that was my Jigsaw. So
Okay.
if any of you guys would like to add to that, or we can go to 10.2.
No worries. I like that a lot. That's really cool. Eliza, do you want to? I'm pretty sure you and I have the same jigsaw. So do you want to take
Yeah,
this one? Okay.
sure. Ours was the Great Behaviorism Manifesto. Um, and I want to say it was by Brother Pacini, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
But okay, good. I have a good memory for with readings apparently, but nothing else. Nothing else in the test comes as easily as the readings apparently. But
That's all right.
um, it kind of his whole goal was to kind of show that behavior is shaped by environmental consequences, and it was just like this
Hmm.
big study. Um, and it had like different arguments, and it had like his thoughts and his research. But overall, it was like um my notes are all over the place. Hold on. But it was like reinforcement, punishment, and conditioning all equal behaviors or behavior in general. And so I found that to be really cool that it was like that he just kind of broke it down into three of different things, which I mean, I guess it kind of do that. It kind of does that in the next reading anyway, but I digress. But it kind of just goes over how behaviorism is powerful. It's measurable and it works in classrooms and in therapy, which I find really interesting. Um, because I never really thought about it like that. And then there are some examples like a teacher having a reward system or the behavior charts, which I definitely don't miss from kindergarten. And then like the token economies. Um, like if you do this, you get a little token. Or I've seen teachers do like the dollar system.
Hmm.
I think my mom's trying to implement a sticker system, so I don't know. And then the argument that he had was that societies need a balanced social accountability rather than breaking it down into here we reinforce it and then you add like a little bit of a punishment and then you condition it. Um, and so overall, like the article, or I can't ever remember which is which, but overall, like it was just really interesting just to see like the different takes on behaviorism because obviously he's trying to push his point of view, so it's a little bit more like in your face. But the argument was also interesting as well because um it was just a different take on behavior in general. And so overall I really liked it.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. It was really interesting. Because again, it reminded me of reading from last week where it was like talking about um Jonathan Haidt, I think is how you say his name. He was talking about how you at least I think it was him. I don't remember. That was last week. But the idea that you were like you're born with like the five fundamentals and then you develop your morality from there. Um, and it reminded me a lot of that of like we're all born maybe with like the general like idea, and then we develop our behavior by what occurs to us externally and how that occurs. Like corporal punishment is not my favorite. When I did band camp, that was one of the main things that was used very often was corporal punishment. Um, and it's not that it didn't get the job done, it just made it no longer enjoyable in any shape or form. Um, And then there's other forms of punishment. And then I think of like oh, what's the word? It's like soft parenting. What is it? You guys know what I'm talking about? Where they're like, oh, it's okay. Like, feel your emotions. Like, oh, I can't think what it's called.
Oh, I know
Hmm.
what you're talking about.
Is it the
Oh,
permissive? I don't think so. Wait.
No,
no,
what is
it's the gentle parenting.
gentle parenting? Oh my gosh,
Gentle.
thank you so much.
You're
Soft and
welcome.
gentle. It's like the same thing.
It's
Yeah.
basically the same thing because it's like the gentle parenting where like they'll parent and they don't really punish in any way at all, and there's not that like hard no, this is a bad thing, and so that the kids, I feel like they eventually learn the behavior, but it's not recognized. I don't know, in some way I feel like it's not recognized that what was done is a bad thing. And so I think that you have to find a balance between the two. You have to find the balance between the rewards, between being gentle and like understanding, but also like that hard of like, hey, this is how this goes, and you can't adjust it outside of that. Um, but yeah, behavior is really interesting and the way that we adapt and make it and have it work. But yeah, okay, cool. So I think that's all of our jigsaws. Do we want to just go over real fast? We're kind of towards the end of our meeting, but we can just go over real quick the readings as well as not the readings. Oh my gosh, the paper of the week and the studies. Does anyone want to go first for that? Don't all jump at once. I can go first if you guys want to, or Savannah, do you want to? I don't know.
I mean, I have my paper of the week pulled up, but not my 99 studies.
That's
So
okay.
I can let me talk about that one and then I'll go find my 99 studies.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Go ahead and do that. We can do paper first.
Um, okay. Yes, the SEL programs,
Mm-hmm.
social and emotional learning. Um, I don't know. I thought this one was kind of cool because I feel like I don't know. I'm trying to think if we talked about it earlier in this class. No, it was in my other class. I'm reading like a book about like the way emotions affect learning and education and how it's so important to be like aware and have like students, sorry,
No, you're
emotions
good.
in check before they can learn. Because learning is actually like a pretty emotional event we go through. Like our brains being stretched. Like a lot of times, like we're kind of tired, we're kind of hungry, we
Mm-hmm.
can get frustrated, which can get us upset, which can lead to like other stuff. Like it's kind of like an emotional roller coaster learning like anything. Whether it's
Yeah.
like you're like super engaged or you're confused or you're fascinated or like all of that. Like it all like touches into the emotions. And so I don't know. I thought this article was kind of cool, like in relation to that. Um, because it was like, well, how do like social and emotional learning activities like affect students' like performance? And it was like cool to see how it's like, oh, they've got like improvements in like social skills, attitudes, pro-social behaviors, and like along with like reduction in behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think that's cool because it's like when students are like emotionally like in check and aware and like teachers are trying to like keep everybody like emotionally stable and like happy, like it does create an environment where it improves learning. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Um, with that, because like I'm kind of with you. Like when your emotions are like going every which way, the learning just becomes sometimes harder, and like it talks about
Mhm.
that. Um, and it just makes me think about like this class, if I'm being honest. And just like that whole aspect of like I I think the one thing I really enjoy about this class is getting to meet with you guys every week and getting to talk about it. Um, but then after that, like there's that emotional of like I'm so frustrated or just like different things. Or just in other classes in general. Like I will love the people that I'm with, but the
Mhm.
class itself can be really hard. Um, and if it's a hard class, but I have really good people with it, it's not the end of the world. Like Savannah and I, when we were in our English class together last semester, it was a really hard class, but I actually felt like I could do it because I had people in my corner in that same situation, and it was a good experience. Um, and it's interesting because it talks about in the paper of the week, like the different programs and like how they can be effective but also not effective all at the same time. And so it's like you have to figure out a program I think that works for you and your students. And not just a program that's a wash and repeat that someone else is doing.
No, I love that. I love how you touch on like people in your corner. Like, and that kind of goes into like, I think this was in like the 10.2 readings where it talked about, um, it might have been one I don't even know, where it just like talked about like people's needs and the order of like their needs and how it's like being, um, social. Like we need to be like supported by others and we need to like be able to support others. And then that's just like, I don't know, it's good for us as humans to be able to, in some way, be connected with other people. Like, even the most like introverted of introverts, like, benefits heavily from just like having someone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, people need people, and so that's kind of like the biggest thing I think that you could take away from it is you may not think that you want somebody, but like you need that social connection. But in reality, like you really truly do benefit from being being closer to other people. Because I've known people that um are a lot more introverted than I am and who really only have like a couple of friends and they're really happy when they're with those people, but then it comes time to like I don't know, thinking of seminary specifically where it's like, oh, I have to read out in class or any other class that involved like, vocally saying something that was like, oh no, I have to be social. And then they're like really, really shy. But when they're with that group of people, they seem a lot more social. Because I've had people be like, oh, you're like, I'll be like, yeah, I'm an introvert. And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, you have to see me outside of class. Like, um, and like, I feel like it's hard when um you know people and you're really social with them and then you get out of that environment and then you act like nothing happened because that's what happens to me a lot. I like get done with little group meetings with my friends and then like I crash afterwards. I'm like my social battery out the window, like I can't do this anymore. And so I don't know, the article was just really or the paper was really, really interesting to just kind of see that um that the SEL programs like did tend to help students um in different ways. Like it's not always going to be like the same for every student, but like that it did help them with like their overall academic performance because you never really think of things like that.
No, I completely agree. I like how you mentioned like, the social battery and the crash because I feel like, I don't know, like those affect students like so much. That learning environment is huge. Huge.
Yeah, the way that you put your classroom together is really going to affect how a student's going to learn. If that environment's going to be a good environment, a healthy environment, then the student's going to thrive. But then you also got to take into account that a student's going to be an individual person who takes different needs. Like your extroverts probably not going to need a whole lot of assistance to get to know somebody, but your introvert might need a little bit more help in that aspect. So just working around that. Awesome. Okay, shall we do the studies real fast. I can go first if you'd like. Um, oh my gosh, I had it pulled up. Where is it? I like pulled up the study so I can act like make sure I get to everything. Okay. Well, first off, any other thoughts or studies? Good to go to studies.
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 Studies. Perfect. Okay, so I did the one about reading and background noise mainly because I love background noise when I'm reading and doing homework. Um, and it talked about like I've already known this, but I just hate that it keeps pointing it out. That background noise actually like doesn't do a whole lot of help, especially when you're reading something and you're trying to learn that way. And it was specifically talking about reading as in like reading your notes and reading to study for something. It just tended to have a negative effect both on children and adults. Um, and it said, I'm like reading this as well. It's like there's 95% probability that lyrical music was more distracting, which makes sense. And then you hear about how classical music can actually help and benefit people. Uh, and then in general, just like a big distraction when you have background noise. So I was thinking about it, and like as a teacher, oftentimes I think growing up, my teachers would just like put on some music, which was fine. It was great. I had one teacher, she decided that like halfway through the year that she was going to switch and decided to do just classical music. And then we would listen to that classical music during our thing instead. And it actually helped a lot more of us. And I think the main thing is that we just don't want to sit in silence. And so I think if you have background noise, it needs to be like white noise in a sense, or like rain sounds, or something that's just a white noise sort of deal. Um, that's not going to distract because music can distract you, just background noise can be interruptive in your thinking and your thought process, no matter how fast we think we can multitask. We can't, actually. It doesn't work, sadly. And then just in life in general, knowing that helps. And then in the gospel, it's kind of just I kind of was thinking about like there's so much noise and loudness in the world. And I remember Elder Bednar giving a talk and talking about how we need to be still and just let that silence be an okay thing instead of always constantly needing to have something playing or something going on. But yeah, that was my study.
I like
Love it.
that.
Okay. Mine. Oh, which one should I do? Um, what about the one about how much we forget? That one was pretty good. Um, and I don't know, kind of like a cool takeaway that I pulled out of was just like the importance of like consistently and regularly referring back to previous work and information and like kind of like just revisiting prior material because like a lot of times like the first time we see something unless it's like extremely impactful or out there or we already have prior knowledge on it or a connection to it like the odds of us forgetting it are pretty high and like the odds of all of your like we'll probably have some students that could remember it, but not all. Like the odds of some forgetting are like, or a majority of forgetting are pretty dang high. And so just like even if it's small steps, like I know a lot of like middle schools like math classes, like you have your worksheet on the lesson you learned that week. But you get to where some of those problems, like 2 to 4 or whatever, are from previous units or lessons that were taught because it just helps refresh and that like interlearning or dual coding just continues to like be imprinted on and they continue to learn. Um, and I don't know, a little thing that it said in there was just like the act of forgetting and relearning that actually, okay, I don't know, it's kind of a worded weird, but it's like a quote from like the thing. And it's just like the act of forgetting and relearning that actually cements it's probably like there's something about the act of forgetting and relearning that actually cements knowledge into our long-term memory. So like if you learn something and then forget it and then relearn it, that process of relearning something you've already relearned, even if you forgot it, like just further cements it in there, which is, I don't know, which is kind of cool. And then I don't know, it just reminded me a lot of like the consistency that we are, asked or prompted to do when it comes to like reading the scriptures, saying prayers, like going to church, trying to stay active. Like consistency is so powerful. And it just like helps us learn because it's like you're not always having to like go back and like refresh and it's like, oh wait, like, what was this again? Or like, I can't remember this verse, but it's just like that consistency, even just like that little 1% every day is truly very impactful. But
I
yeah, that's
love that.
mine.
Um, I did the one about false confidence, just because I found it really interesting because I don't really, I never really thought that there could be two different types of confidence. But this one was kind of the main findings. I had to pull the book up to remember. Um, the big thing about it was that like you could watch someone do it, and then think that you could do it, but never actually try to do it. Um, and it doesn't matter like how many times you watch something like on a video or watch someone else do it in front of you. If you're not practicing it, you're really not gonna increase that confidence in I can do it. You're just gonna believe that you can do it rather than knowing you can do it, which I found really interesting. And so I have to go back to my notes real quick, but I want to say that my big takeaway for the teachers was that um you can show the students how to do something, but ultimately you have to be the one to like not necessarily like make them practice, but like in the class have them practice what they're learning. So like let's say um you're in science, specifically like chemistry, and your students are doing like physical versus chemical, because that's the only example I can come up with, but like changes. But you're just kind of showing them videos. And this was something that the science teacher at the school I work at did, but she would have them then, after watching the video, she would have them go practice it. So, like we made little rocket launchers with like fizzy tablets and like a container. Or we did like the Coke versus Mentos experiment where like the kids got to actually like practice what they were learning rather than you just sit in a class all day and you don't really learn anything because like you're learning but you're not like having that confidence in what you're learning. And so that was a big thing. And then the what you can learn for like life was kind of overall just like practicing what you're doing. Because you can it kind of goes back to school or just in general. Like you can sit there, kind of like the Rubik's Cube thing I think we're supposed to have by the end of the year that I may or may not have forgotten about because I saw an email about it the other day, where we're supposed to solve a Rubik's Cube and then film ourselves doing it. And I don't know about you guys, but I've never been able to solve a Rubik's Cube. Even the amount of videos and like practice I've done, I've never been able to do it, like ever. And so, and then it's kind of like learning an instrument. You know, you could sit in orchestra, and your teacher could orchestra or band or even choir. Like you could sit there and you could practice in school, but then you go home and you don't practice anything. So then you're like, oh, at school I'm really good, but then it comes like the concert and you have no idea what you're doing because you didn't practice it like for like an hour or however long you want to practice at home. And so that's where like that false confidence comes from. And so just like practicing what you learn and also just practicing what you teach as well, because you could also do the same thing as a teacher where you've watched this video, you've planned your lesson, but you're not practicing what you're teaching your kids. And so I guess there's another implication for teachers I didn't realize. But and then the gospel outline that I came up with or could think about was like it's kind of like keeping the commandments or the covenants that you make. Because especially as a missionary, you could be like, oh, like you need to go to church, or just in general, in reality, like, oh, like going to church, reading your scriptures, saying your prayers every day. Like you could be like, oh, I know how to do that, but you're not doing it. And so that's where like that the false confidence in the gospel can also stem from is just keeping the commandments or covenants that you make because I mean we're all human, we all make mistakes and we all like say we're doing something and then in reality we're like, oh, I'm really not doing that. And so I'm just like, oh no. Cause I believe but I kind of struggle to read my scriptures, even in my religion class. So but yeah, that was my 99 studies.
Nice. That's awesome.
Mhm.
I'm right there with you with the scripture study. Okay, cool. I think so sorry. Anyone have any last minute thoughts? But I think we can end the meeting unless someone has something they want to add.
I am all good.
I'm
Okay,
good.
perfect. I'll go ahead and end the meeting and the recording.